Now we go into the WIC kitchen with our chef VG, who shows us another way to prepare our veggies.
Welcome to the WIC kitchen. This is VG, and today our menu is roasted vegetables, brown rice pilaf, and black beans with tomatoes. Let's put on our apron, and then we'll go wash our hands. And a good way to figure out how long is to sing Happy Birthday or the ABC song. You're going to wash your hands a lot in the kitchen because keeping your hands clean really inhibits passing on bacteria and viruses. We're going to start off with the rice pilaf, and the first thing we're going to do is chop an onion. And here's the way I chop an onion. This is the top side of the onion that was above the ground. You cut that off, but you leave the root end intact. Then we peel back that first layer, and we leave it attached. Then we're going to slice it. And then we want to cut, not all the way through. And then we're going to chop it. And this is handy because you have something to hold on to. When you get down to the end, just chop those little pieces. And now you have a chopped onion. We'll set this aside in a bowl. Okay, I've put the pot over medium-high heat. I'm going to add about 2 tablespoons of olive oil, and we'll let that heat up. And we're using brown rice in this pilaf. Brown rice is a whole grain, and the only item that's been removed from the grain is the hull, which is very, very tough. But we want all the vitamins and minerals in brown rice. You hear it sizzling? It's ready. And what we want to do is saute these onions until they're translucent. That means that just the light goes through it. At this point, I like to add a few red pepper flakes. They will not make the dish spicy or hot, but they add a really fantastic nuance. That's what you get when you add red pepper flakes to stews, soups, beans, rice. It's important to measure your rice, in particular brown rice. I'm going to put in 2 cups. Because the ratio for the liquid you use to the brown rice is 2 to 1. You want to stir this around so you're coating each of the rice grains with oil. You can cook this in water, vegetable broth, or chicken broth, preferably low sodium. But water is fine with this. And especially if you caramelize your onions, you have so much flavor from the onion. So with 2 cups rice, we're going to add 4 cups of liquid, which is one of these containers, which is 1 quart. After this comes to a boil, we're going to cover it, turn it down to simmer, and cook it for 50 minutes. After the 50 minutes, take it off the heat and let it set. And the setting time is probably about 5 to 10 minutes. I'm now going to preheat the oven to 400 degrees to roast our vegetables. Now we're going to prepare our vegetables to roast. Get a baking pan, and you can either use parchment paper or non-stick spray. Today we have broccoli, which is high in vitamin C. It also has calcium, and it's delicious raw. But today we are going to roast our vegetables. just for a little something different, a new treat. So now we are cutting, these are called florets. We're cutting them from the head. And broccoli is part of the cabbage family. Cabbage, kale, Brussels sprouts, they're all good for you. Cut these in bite-sized portions. And don't forget the two important knives, a chef's knife and a paring knife. Those are the only two knives you really need in your kitchen. Okay, now we've got the stem, which is actually one of my favorite parts. It reminds me a lot of artichoke hearts. So we're going to take this, because sometimes that outer part is a little bit tough. And what you want to do is peel off that outer skin, because it never gets tender. Trust me, I've tried it. Now obviously this is going to take longer to cook than the broccoli, and the broccoli florets. So don't cut it too thick. Okay, we have some peppers. And these are great for color and for their vitamin content. Now these are rather tender already, so they may not take as much time. So we can cut these into larger chunks, because the smaller your chunk, the less time it's going to take to cook. Let's do some yellow for color too. You can roast every vegetable, any vegetable, string beans, asparagus, Brussels sprouts. Everything tastes great roasted. And in May or June, you'll receive a check you can use at a farmer's market to buy fresh produce. And you can buy that produce through November. So you can get corn, you can get zucchini. Zucchini is great roasted. But also at that time of the year, you can grill it on your grill outdoors. Okay, now we're doing cauliflower. Another member of the cabbage family, or another cruciferous as it's called. And cauliflower is pretty easy. It just breaks off into florets. Make sure when you buy them this way that you do use them right away. Because as soon as you cut into any of these vegetables, the vitamin C is being depleted. Broccoli in the whole head, and the same with cauliflower, can be kept in the refrigerator for quite a while, as long as it's intact. And then we have something very delicious. We have a sweet potato or a yam. And you scrub them, because I'm going to leave the skin on. Now these are very dense, so you're going to have to cut these into smaller pieces. Now we're going to dress this with very little oil. You don't have to use a lot of oil. So you just want to drizzle. Take your hands, which are clean, toss your vegetables. And at this point, you can add some herb or spices if you'd like. We're putting our vegetables into our preheated oven, and the total time cooking will be probably 20 to 30 minutes, and halfway we do want to flip them. And we want to make sure that they retain some of their crispness. We only want to cook them to al dente, which means to the bite. Our last preparation is black beans with garlic. First, we're going to chop some garlic, because you really want that garlic flavor in there. And garlic's very good for you. Okay, that should be enough. Let your knife do the work. That's fine enough for me. So now we will put this in our dish here, and we will go to the stove and start making our beans. To the skillet, I'm adding about 2 tablespoons of olive oil. I'm now adding the garlic. Okay, let's throw in our beans. Little black pepper. Freshly ground's the best. And essentially what you're doing now is just heating the beans through. Here are our finished dishes. Our roasted vegetables. Our black beans with garlic. And our brown rice pilaf. So now I will plate the food. Some beans. And an assortment of roasted vegetables. I chopped up some cilantro. We'll sprinkle that on. I'm going to throw in a few tomatoes too. And there's your dinner, full of protein from the beans, lots of good vitamins from the roasted vegetables, and lots of fiber from the rice. Thank you for joining me in the WIC Kitchen. I'm Vijay, and I'll see you next time.
Still to come on the WIC Show, learn some yoga poses you can do with your baby. I'll be right back.